in this lesson, we'll add Prettier to our React project. The first thing I want to do is shut down my running React dev server, and we can do that with Control-C. So if the server is running on your end, you can shut it down as well. And then we want to run the command npm install. And this will be installed as a dev dependency, not a regular npm dependency, because we do not need to send Prettier to the end user who is using our application. It exists solely for the benefit of us, the developers. So to add a dependency as a developer dependency, I will add this flag -- save -dev. And afterwards, I will specify the name of our package, which is Prettier. Press enter, and that should be a quick installation process. Okay, so in order to configure Prettier, I'm going to create a basic file at the very top of my code base, and that file is going to be called .prettier, and then rc, and then .json. It's a JSON file. And all we have to place inside that file is an empty JavaScript object, basically an empty configuration object. So as I mentioned, Prettier is meant to work with very minimal configuration, but in case you do want to customize something like single quotes or double quotes, or the presence of semicolons versus the absence of semicolons, it's here that you can customize those settings if your team prefers. But like I said, I like to let Prettier do all of the work. So I typically don't add any custom settings because my whole goal here is to let Prettier worry about that and leave it completely out of my decision making. But an empty object here simply says, hey, Prettier, go with your defaults. That totally works for me. Then an additional file that we can create also at the top level of the project is a file called .prettier ignore. And this is a file that will tell Prettier which files to ignore when formatting, because otherwise Prettier can potentially go through every file and format it, and sometimes you may not want it to do so. So what I typically do is I go into my git ignore file and I simply copy and paste the content from here into my Prettier ignore. So for example, we don't want to format the node modules directory. That's other people's code, and it won't really have any benefit to us as developers to format some dependencies right from other libraries. So that's something you can typically tell Prettier to ignore in a Prettier ignore file. Once again, both of these files start with a dot. So just make sure you have that in your file names, .prettierrc.json, and then just .prettier ignore with no spaces and no extension in that name. So we can save these files, and that's all the Prettier config that we need to do. So in the very next lesson, I'm going to show you how we can run Prettier on our existing project files. I'll see you there.